First thing I want to do, obviously, is I want to give App State all the credit in the world. I don't know what's in the water in Boone, North Carolina, but it seems like they've been doing this for a long time to whoever they play. It's hard talking to a coach after a game like that. I just told him, I said, I know you don't want to hear this right now, but you guys do an unbelievable job. So first of all and foremost, I want to give App State all the credit in the world. They do a great job. They do a great job. I thought they had a really good plan today. I started the game at 46 years old. I ended it at 51. I don't think I had any chance to catch Coach Rose whatsoever with games like that. I thought overall, I thought our offense looked really good sometimes, and then other times we just looked like a young team. We're inexperienced players making mistakes. It was one player each drive or each play that didn't do what we needed to do consistently. I think the same thing on defense. I think our inexperience showed up a few times and didn't play the way we were capable of playing. I did not think we played well on special teams, which is usually the story across the country. Early in the season like that in college football, we have typically been pretty good, but obviously we weren't. Onside kick was a huge play in the game. Obviously the kickoff return very early in the game when we had momentum swung it back in their direction. So we got to win. We're going to enjoy wins around here. We'll critique the heck out of this thing tomorrow, but I want to make sure that our coaches, before going to the locker room, make sure we're emphasizing that we just won a great football team against a tough opponent. And I think sometimes I've seen coaches after games like that and wins like that, where maybe you had a different picture in your mind of how the game was going to go, and you don't handle it the right way with the players afterwards. So we just celebrated in there, made a few points. I want them to go out and enjoy themselves tonight, and then we'll come back in tomorrow, and we got a lot of things that we got to get cleaned up and got to get corrected before our next game. So open up the questions. One last thing I would like to say. I would like to thank the fans. I thought for opening game of the season, I've heard people talk about forever Memorial Day. Weekends always a challenge across the country, and I thought our attendance and our fan support was unreal. So I want to thank the fans all coming out and supporting us. When you were able to get 105,000 people, and I looked around, it was impressive. Driving into the stadium on the blue buses, you could tell, based on the RV lots and things like that, and the fans on the road. So I want to thank the fans for the tremendous support that we got tonight, because we don't win them without them.
Okay. James, how do you see this game helping you guys move forward as facing that kind of adversity against a team like that in the very first game of the season?
Well, it's like I mentioned the team. Sometimes I'm not sure if I said this to you guys or I mentioned it to the team, but you look at any really good, good season, there's always a win like that where, you had to overcome adversity, you had a gritty win, you had to fight it out and stick together. Obviously having Trace McSorley as your quarterback with the game on the line always helps. And then I thought the kickoff return play that we schemed up where everybody kind of stopped and KJ acted like he was staying in, and Jonathan Thomas came and almost tackled him, and he went up the sideline for 50 yards. That was coaching. That was coaching right there. That obviously was a key play in the game. But I think again, we're going to look back at the end of the year, and this is going to be obviously a critical win for us. And all wins are going to be different. All wins aren't created equally. And most importantly, we found a way to get a win. Get a tough win against a tough opponent who, if you look in their history, Michigan, Tennessee took Tennessee to overtime. I think when they were ranked number 9 last year, they took Wake Forest. Wake Forest, I think, had to block a field goal at the end of the game to beat them. I mean, they seem to do this against everybody. So, I'm proud of our guys. We found a way to get a win. We're gonna enjoy it.
James, you mentioned KJ. He had not played. I'm sorry, Richard. You all right?
No, good.
KJ had not played in an actual game in a long time. Can you talk about the sort of impact that he made? Obviously, he was starting for you, but to come in and make big plays in the clutch the way he did.
Yeah, we got a lot of belief in KJ and have for a long time. I mean, you think about this. This is really the first football game he's played in 2 years. Had an injury his senior year in high school. showed up here, still wasn't ready, so we ended up having a red shirt. But we see this stuff all the time for him. So I think one of the things we probably got to look at is ways that we can get his hands on the ball a little bit more, offensively and on special teams, because he has a chance to change the game at any moment. And, one of the things, that I tried to do with KJ, right there around halftime, he hadn't said a word. And I think you guys know the only thing that's faster than KJ's feet is his mouth. And I said, you need to start talking and having some fun because I haven't seen that. And he's like, I'm locked in. I said, no, I want you to practice the same way you play in games, and you don't act like this in games. So start having some fun, start enjoying yourself. And I don't know if that's what did it or not, but either way, obviously he made some huge plays for us down the middle on the option route, on a kickoff return. We got to find ways to get the ball in his hands.
James, your secondary did not have a particularly good game until the very end, obviously. What were you being told was the problem, and can you describe what you've seen or what you've been told about Amani's interception at the end?
It was an interception, right? I'm not sure what you're asking.
Yeah, no, I'm saying what early in the game or most of the game the secondary was struggling, and I was asking. What were you seeing from the secondary? What were you being told? And then also, did you see the interception?
I really did. I mean, literally, there was so much noise going on the headset. I didn't know if it was an incomplete pass, and it was confusion on the headset. But then the way the fans reacted, and all our players started running on the field. I said, we must have intercepted it, I guess. I'll say two things. I think we got to be better in coverage. They were running 2 times where they ran what we call the big box, which is the inside receiver run a fade. And the first one, we didn't do a good job of covering it. The second time, we probably didn't make the call that we would have wanted to make in that situation that put our safety in really in a tough position on that play. So I think that kind of give and take there. And then another thing, you got to give him credit. I mean, the one play on Castro Fields. The guy makes the perfect throw, over the shoulder, outside, fully in stride, right on the sideline. The coverage was great. You got to give them credit. He made a big-time throw in a big-time situation. We had another one up the sideline. It was cover 2. The safety's got to get off the hash, and the corner's got to jam the vertical. We can't allow the free releaser up the sideline. So they're the things that kind of stand out to me. Besides that, they did a really good job of saying, we're going to get the ball out quick. We're going to dink and dunk. A lot of spacing concepts where they would free release and swing the back out of the backfield and use, kind of sit down routes and spread the field horizontally and get the ball out of the quarterback's hand quickly. So, I think it was a good plan. Where I would probably make the argument is we got to be better against the run. When you watch that game, the series that we got off schedule, tackle for loss, sack, or penalty. We had 3 and outs, but when we didn't, they were just getting positive plays, 4 yards, 6 yards, things like that, and then we're able to sneak in a few explosives.
James, Miles Sanders, 2 touchdowns, game winner in overtime. His first start, how do you think he handled himself?
Yeah, afterwards he just came up to me and said, I waited 2 years for this. I'm happy for Miles, You look around college football, and to me it's a concern. We've made some rules to make it easier to transfer. And I get it, I get it, but I worry because I think most of us and all of us are using the game of football to teach life lessons. And the lesson in life is not to leave to go to the path of least resistance. It's battle and fight and earn a job and overcome adversity. And Miles is a great example of that. He's sitting behind Saquon Barkley, maybe the best running back on the planet. And he just kept grinding, he just kept working, he kept staying positive. I think he's going to have a huge year for us. Tommy Stevens is an example of that. So I get both sides of the story, but I worry a little bit that we use college athletics and high school athletics to teach some of these things. And I worry that some of these rules maybe are softening that. So I struggle with that. I think some people have abused it, so that's why the rules get put in place. But I worry, are we doing what's right for kids?
James, you guys don't see a 3-4 defenses often. How much of that played into the trouble you guys had early on protecting Trace?
Yeah, I think the 3-4 defense was part of it. I think the other thing is they are a sudden, twitchy, undersized movement defense. And those types of defenses usually give college offensive lines trouble. We struggled with that early on. So I think the 3-4 plays a little part of that because we only see it maybe a couple times a year. We don't see it against our own team in practice every single day. You try to simulate it with scouts, it's not necessarily the same. But again, you got to give those guys credit because they've done that to everybody they've played.
James, Miles had 7 carries in the first half, finished with 19. Coming in, did you guys kind of have a distribution of carries in mind for guys, or would you have liked to have gotten in more touches?
No, we kind of have a rotation that we talk about on Friday and then go over it as a group on Saturday morning. Whether it's 2 to 1, so the starter gets 2 reps, two series, and the next guy will get 1 series, or 3 to 1, or whatever it may be. So we talk about it like that. And then touches, it's not really about touches. It's hard to do that in our offense. Like I brought that up about KJ, but it's hard to do in our offense because so much of it, typically in the passing game, it's always been like that. You go through your progressions, you hit the open receiver. In the running game, with as much RPO stuff as we do, it's hard to say a guy's going to get this many carries. Probably the one thing that they did that we struggled with a little bit today offensively was the cover 0. We probably could have worked a little bit more cover 0. They got us a few times where they just had more guys blitzing that we could account for. So that's probably an area that I would say on myself and the coaches and the offensive coaches that we got to have a better plan for is the cover 0 stuff.
James, on Kevin Givens, is there anything you can tell us about why he didn't play, if he'll miss any more games, and your thoughts on what not having him out there, how did that impact your defense?
Yeah, he was a suspension for violation of team rules, and I'm going to leave it at that, as you guys know, like I normally do. But yeah, I don't think there's any doubt when you got one of your better defensive tackles not playing the game. Did that have a factor in it? I don't think there's any doubt about it. And we'll be better, when Kevin starts playing for us.
James, when you guys are up 24-10 and 31-17, but you had played a lot of people, did you think your defense wore down? And also, you mentioned the onside kick. Was that an execution thing, or were you guys surprised by that?
No, they did a good job. They called an onside kick. They went with the dribbler. They executed extremely well. I think we lined up a little deep, and I think we were leaving a little early, which that's a recipe for disaster in that. We lined up too deep, and we were creeping out a little bit early. They saw it. We literally just reminded them of that on the sidelines. See the ball kick, don't leave early. You're fast enough to execute your responsibility without leaving early, and they got us. So that's ultimately on us.
Time for 2 more.
James, P.J. Mustipher and Michael Parsons both played several series today. Did you play them more than you expected, about what you expected, and how do you think they handled it?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure because I don't know what their totals are. I expected them to see them in the game. I wanted our coaches to get a halftime report on where those guys' numbers were, all those guys like that, because I don't want to have a Sunday where we get in there and I say, well, how come you didn't play more? And, I forgot I got caught up in the moment again. I don't want that. So we talked about that ahead of time, but I don't know what their rep count was, and it's not like we had an exact number on it. We just wanted to make sure we got those guys in the game. And as those guys gain more confidence and gain experience, it's going to help our team. I don't think there's any question.
Game ends up Jake Pinniger's leg, making the difference there towards the end of regulation. 5 for 5 extra points, 1 field goal made that. What did you learn about him in game number 1 with him as your field goal kicker?
Yeah, I thought Jake was calm, cool, and collected and did his job. I thought we held well, we protected well. And he did a nice job. He did what he was supposed to do, and it's going to allow us to build on that for the rest of the season. It's a good way to start when you have a true freshman kicker kicking for the first time in front of 105,000. It's just like I told Check. Check was our kickoff guy, and he goes to run out there, and his eyes were like this big. I'm like, this is no different than St. John's versus DeMatha. You've been doing this your whole career. And both of those guys ended up doing a really good job for true freshmen for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Appreciate y'all being here.